Looking at yesterday's price action, off the open, we had this head and shoulder appear, green precision, going back under this teal, flipping it as resistance, forming the head above, coming to grab this liquidity. Not too bad of a beginning trade, pretty easy with the resistant wicks coming in, knowing the head formed above. Uh, Fairly simple trade here, all the way back down, and then you notice, right, there is no structure within this area here. This heads back down to the bottom of a teal, right? No structure, no trade, right? You should not really be taking position within here unless you're taking starter, but I explained prior why you should wait for a left shoulder liquidity to build before that, before taking starter position. Instead, I want you to see how this started to taper with teal down here, and gave us an early Zomi, which was paired up with the news candle to the upside, right? So fairly two easy, simple positions. A little bit harder to take this considering is with news. Um, and then you get a bear flag later on in the day off of the pink here with magenta break within the green precision. This takes you all the way down. One more retracement here, which was possible to take all the way down. And from here, it starts to get a little bit wacky. Price builds this left shoulder liquidity with the yellow, breaks out with the out of the yellow resistance, but then green precision and blue precision reappear, bringing price back into yellow resistance. So this was forming a head to come back and grab this liquidity. This is a starter entry when it's recontained in the yellow, forming this right shoulder. This right shoulder was not um, ideal as it was only within the teal. So instead, waiting for the yellow retest here. And then you see it break and retraces this support as resistance still within the teal. So the entry becomes possible. Um, and this is just where it gets wacky once more. Price attempting to break out of pink, but you don't see any break and retrace here when it's unclear. Break and retrace is the most ideal, right? Instead, it forms a deeper head, and now you see a break and retrace within the blue precision pink as support, and this pushes out, right? And from here, you see the two white lines I listed, right? From the support here to the high here. This is where we range in between. A nested structure here. Retests, close this inverse cup. And from here, you should be looking for selling continuation. A nice little head and shoulder bear flag forming off the yellow algo here. A nice nested right shoulder to reload on off of the teal precision. And then from here, we built a little bit more liquidity for the end of day lotto, which was really, really nice. On the head and shoulder that formed above off the yellow. You could technically take the trade off of magenta. If you did that, is fine. That's fine. That's completely fine if you did. Otherwise, if you're waiting for the stronger precision to reappear, it was on the yellow break, right? Looking at the daily here, keep an eye on where the bottom Bollinger Band will open up. Ideally, we will get this to converge with the 200-day MA and push under for a move that will possibly be able to bring this down. That won't happen today, right? The bottom Bollinger Band will not open below this, but eventually, if price continues to trend down, it will, right? So we still have some time before that happens, but watch where this opens today, as we are pretty overextended, and the move to 5-day MA is likely, but the 5-day MA will also be fairly close to the range. So I'm very worried about a chop because this we have targets like the QQQs, 5-day and 20-day MA that are fairly close as well. So we may see a move to those. But we're in a downtrend, just a bit overextended on a Friday, likely to lack continuation, right? First things first, though, you'll see the orange algo here on the 30-minute. Let's see if there is continuation within. It's still possible, so just keep that in mind. Otherwise, I'd like to see if this inverted head and shoulder forms. If it comes early, watch to see if this pink algo and blue algo will break and retrace that support, with the 5-day MA becoming support as well. And that will give us a move hopefully up to the QQQ 20-day MA, is where that'll likely be around. And if neither of those happen today, just be very careful of this wedge between the pink and blue. It could hover around the 5-day MA, right? So if that happens, just be very careful. Right. Okay. Okay, so you see it's trended down 668.39, but it'll continue to trend down further if price stays down here for today. Okay. Keep an eye on that 30-minute, look at where we're at. Okay, first things first, always spot out what the first structures you're seeing here. You see currently low here, high here. Okay, so we do have the green precision early. Which is great. You'll see the pink containment here. Ideally then, we do break out of this and retrace it as resistance. This would be ideal, right? So any short, you want to make sure the containment is breached unless you get a larger structure, right? So if we can get a larger head and shoulder, then this is also ideal. There is a magenta roughly within this area now as well. So for you guys wondering, I want to find the support points and resistant points for confirmation on magenta. So you may see it flip once I get those points correct. Right, so we'd want to see this head form above with orange, come back and grab this liquidity later on, right? This would be ideal. This is going to give us the green buying precision. any long, it's best to wait for the break and retrace of magenta, flipping it as support. Green precision has broken, right? So just allow them to rebuild liquidity with magenta becoming support. There is a weaker blue buying precision here. Okay, so magenta has been breached. Ideally, we get a retrace. If you're taking any long, you're taking it within the blue precision. I will wait, but it was definitely possible within this area once you saw the breach. So far, if you're within, or if you took this trade within the blue, right, you're still just guiding with the blue. You can cut if the green breaks and it's no longer guided with the strongest. Obviously, there's a target like 5 to MA above, so you can hold till then. If not in, that's completely fine, right? It's Friday. You're meant to wrap up early, anyways. If you didn't like the trade, you don't have to take it. I didn't take it either, right? I'm not too worried about it. Great if you did take it, sure. Not the end of the world if you didn't. There'll be something else that sets up. Keep in mind now where the liquidity is for the left shoulder, if this wants to form a head, and where the right shoulder breakdown will occur, right? No need to rush any trade. Don't try to call a top either, especially when you have the target like 5 to MA right above. If you're ever looking to take a Zomi, you need a precision to be guiding with and understand where the imbalance in price is at. Right, so that's where they broke out of this resistance. Here's your new resistance above, right? So this will become the range that will start to develop. But we want to see if there's where this higher low will develop, right? So anytime you try to take a trade, it's always better to wait for some liquidity to build, right? So I'd like to see a higher low form and then come back to take it out. Right? It's typically what you do. You normally don't just short because of the fact that there is a void below. An easy up doesn't always go straight for an easy down, right? Typically they have to trap. You don't see any trap set up, then you're likely becoming the one who's trapped. Right? You've heard it before. If you don't see any liquidity built, then entering makes you the liquidity. I am going to remap this as the blue precision. It is going to be the weaker precision. I will map out the green precision. Okay, it's now retested the prior point here, just about. If that's what it wants to do, no liquidity built, that's fine, right? Typically it doesn't go like this, and that's fine. You just use this as a confirmation if we come to take out the left shoulder here. That is completely a-okay. It's around the 670.06 area, so just use the 670.16 for a retracement. You'll see a lower high develop below. That's what you're looking for. All right, you look for a low, higher low with a high into a lower high. If you're taking anything up here, ideally you wait for this orange and green or blue to be retested. Grabbing more liquidity and then heading down. Any long, remember, magenta needs to become support, not resistance. Currently, the buyers are attempting to hold the support level below here where the prior left shoulder is, or the resistance turn support is from magenta, where we broke out here, right? So just keep that in mind. There hasn't been much liquidity for the bears to grab other than the fact that they've now recontained price. So now you're watching to see, are the bears going to break down this liquidity level in precision, or will the bulls hold and attempt to break out once more? If you can't make the decision, you don't enter the trade, or you enter it at a liquidity level once it shows some confirmation. Let the algos guide you. You currently see the orange is trying to keep this up, but there is a magenta resistance right above. If there isn't much liquidity to grab, so thin buying structure, right? You can always allow the break and retrace of teal once more, or enter with precision. I will place the green if the buyers appear to push above the teal. Yeah. If it doesn't happen, just be patient and allow some more liquidity to build, right? So this level needs to become support within the green precision. That's what you'd see happen here. If that doesn't happen, no trade. Otherwise, wait for more liquidity to build. You're going to want to see this magenta flip support, and you could see something like this start to happen. That's also possible within the orange. Again, it's always best to gauge how much liquidity was actually built. There isn't much, so for this upside, there isn't much liquidity built, which is why it's better to wait for the break and retrace. Unless it's in a stronger precision. So blue, I mean, if you're watching the blue and magenta support, it's possible. I won't take that. I'll wait. I'll be patient. Only time I would like to take that is if I got enough confirmation, like some kind of pattern with the like candlestick pattern. So if I see a large support wick with large volume coming back up within a stronger buying precision, I could take something like that. If I don't see that, I'm very cautious. So there wasn't a volume increase, right? Instead, what's happening now is magenta's recontaining, breaking out of this orange, activating precision. Only problem here is where's that liquidity to grab, right? You don't see much of anything happening here. There's a support below. Magenta recontaining. Maybe we get some more liquidity to build here. Hopefully we will. If not, try to watch prices break and retrace below. This will now need to become resistance, right? So this is also possible. Okay, retest the magenta and break down. A nested right shoulder, right? To me, this is just really choppy. Just be very careful. I'm gonna map out this teal here. You see the lack of liquidity. It's not going to be worth your time. I can tell you that right now. There's more confirmation, especially if you're looking for downside. If you're taking anything, you you have to guide it with precision, so you should be entering as close as possible to that precision. I will advise you to wait, as there will likely be a better structure that forms up later on. I don't expect this to just shoot straight down. We do have 10 o'clock news, so I guess it could happen. But just also be very wary that 10 o'clock news doesn't specifically mean one direction, right? Technically, as long as the buyers keep this above magenta, this magenta here, they could just be rebuilding liquidity for a breakout. All right, remember the main liquidity is at the yellow 670 levels. If there is going to be a dump, it needs to happen here. Otherwise, be very wary of shorting. Keep in mind the EMA cloud if you're using that, right? I use it, so it's currently green. It's in a strong uptrend too, so things like this you keep in mind. No longer selling in the blue. I'll slightly adjust this so you can see. Just keep in mind this teal support. You see the teal support? Bear's not building much structure here, right? This is where I start to actively watch, right? I see that the bears are lacking any kind of selling. Teal just held support. If you're taking starter, you want to see if a precision will guide. Buyers not showing up. Still within teal. Watch this carefully. Right, the only way you want to short this is if it gets more volatile and breaks this down below this level. Right, this break and retrace would be ideal. Okay, let's watch. If you're taking anything here, see who's selling. Is it the green? Is it the blue? What's currently happening? EMA cloud, I will say, is not red yet, right? So that is something to keep in mind. Currently, you see the attempt of a retrace here. Build the confirmation for it. Who's selling? Once you have your confirmations, you can enter. And if it's not up to your liking because it doesn't have all the confirmations, then you don't have to take it. Okay, so if you took the short here, you should be stopped out. Watch to see if this wants to develop a lower high still, but just keep in mind that already failed. I would allow to see more liquidity to build. It's not in the blue precision. unless it pushes under these lows. Gauge who's selling. And if it's too choppy, it's just not worth your time. Okay, I did take position here. It did get stopped out though. I took it as soon as it retraced back up to the blue. I cut it here though. I'm not gonna hold it. Just a small loss, but that's how it goes sometimes with trades that are not too much confirmation. Was hoping we'd get a breakdown from the blue precision after I saw the nice resistant wick. That's completely okay. Very tight stop. Not going to want to stay within a trade if I don't see the precision activated. Now it's just too choppy. On a Friday, size down, it doesn't really matter. I will move over this though now, as I have attempted to break down. It's within the blue. It's not in the green here. Just keep that in mind. Right, so just to review one more time, I saw the precision activate here. I saw this lower high developing. I saw this large resistant wick. I entered as soon as it retested the precision, and I don't want to hold it if I know that it is no longer selling in that precision. So as soon as the next candle opened, I sell the position just for a smaller loss. Very tight. With it's only 2 contracts, not too big of a deal. I just wait now. I see the inverse cup is closing. I will just wait for the inverse cup and handle. Right. Kind of sucks that that's just so happened to be my first trade of today, but that's how it goes sometimes. But now I will watch to see if this inverse cup and handle forms. Yeah, so on Fridays, even though, I read the move right, I scaled down because of that exact reason, right? It's typically a bit choppier on Fridays. As you see, it's not a very strong sell off. There's not a very strong move that's happened. Honestly, this all could become liquidity later on. So just keep that in mind. Right, I know it's a weaker imbalance as well. I was just hoping the blue precision after that teal retest and that large resistant wick was an indication we were ready to go. You'll see most of the times if my position even slightly pushes out of the precision and I see 3 candles that are basically inside candles, I don't hold a position very long. I'd rather be safe than sorry, right? Because imagine this does push out and I just held it till here instead of my entry being here and a stop here, right? I'd rather just be out of the trade, being safe rather than sorry. Now it's important to remember this area and watching where a low develops, right? I'd like to see a left shoulder form up here, a head forming here, and a right shoulder forming here, right? Something like this would be ideal. And a left shoulder here off of this level. And then a right shoulder coming back to grab it. With that being said, though, the next trade I do take will have to be of higher quality. I'd rather not keep entering on a Friday if I don't see a quality trade, which means if I don't see a proper imbalance in price, a strong precision appearing, and a good entry, I just won't take it. There's a good chance now, since we've closed this inverse cup, that this will end up forming. But I'm a bit wary to the fact that where we're at on the daily chart, right? There's likely to be limited downside. And truthfully, this selling isn't, it's not very ideal, right? It's more than enough for the range overall. We're about 3.5 points on the range. But unless it builds up over maybe an hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour, I probably will sit out because of the fact I want the IV. Right? I want my contracts to make more money, and I don't want to get caught into another trade after I just had a loss. Right. So it's just a good tactic you'll follow, or I follow, and you should follow as well. Anytime you take a loss, small as it is, right, doesn't really matter. And the worst part about it is it ended up working out, right? The best thing you can do is to wait. Just as wait as long as possible, right? Um, the clearer the setup, the better. Typically, if I take a loss, even if it's small, I want to wait 30 minutes at least, right? Unless there is a setup that is just too good to miss, right? Typically, there isn't going to be a setup that's too good to miss on a Friday. The only way is if you see giant green candles appearing, breaking, retracing. That's the only way, right? Otherwise, I am okay with missing just about everything else. The EMA cloud did just flip, so it is now bearish. So keep that in mind. You'll see I am starting to map out some pink points here. I actually need to map it out slightly better. If any of you caught this, well done. Right, there definitely were some entry points. If you held, that's fine. What could I have done? Guided it with magenta. If I wanted to hold a bit longer on a Friday, I don't want to get caught into a trade though. So instead, again, precision, especially my first trade, I'm okay in not holding the trade very long. If you did and you were able to manage the risk, well done. If you're watching this here, pink is becoming resistance. Make sure to protect more, right? Especially when you see a candle that could become a climax, right? Large red candles breaking major supports become climax candles, right? So there could be a spring. Very nice move down now, right? This ended up breaking out of range, which is great. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the 30-minute. EMA cloud has flipped red. Okay, hopefully you did protect more at those climax candles, right? Now we'll watch for the next structure, right? We're definitely going to be watching for some continuation structure first here. Just read prior liquidity levels, right? There was a low here that was broken down from. That's why you see the resistance coming in. But again, you need to be spotting structure. Right? If you don't see much of anything going on, it's just best not to do anything here. There will be one here as well. But my hopes is that we return back up to this point, right? That's where the breakdown here occurred. So I'd like to see a left shoulder. And hopefully we get a nice little fake down to break down, right? fake out to breakdown within this area. That's what I'd like to see. So there will be an entry point within this area, right? Depending on where it happens. You'd see precision appearing, maybe a magenta around here as well. Then there will also be an entry on this point here. Right. Okay, so at this point, really, there isn't much to do. If this doesn't build structure, you got to remember how bear traps form, right? So just keep that in mind. Always be a bit wary on any structure or any trade you take if it lacks structure, right? You have a low, you'd like to see a low develop here in some kind of head form. If it's early, it'll happen like this. You want to see the pink become resistance with magenta in precision, right? That's how it'll grab this. And if it doesn't do that, right, just wait for the larger structure that I mapped out. Really no point to do anything here unless either of those form up. We'll map out this teal here. Okay, my guess is there's not going to be a trade within the next probably 30 minutes here at least. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have some questions, I'll answer some questions now. If you guys want to ask trading chat, that's fine. You can ask them in there. If you guys have feedback, if you guys like something this week or didn't like something this week, let me know in the feedback channel under the non-trading tab. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a good spot to call it quits for the day unless something nice forms up later on. Yeah, it sucks today, smaller red trade, but those are the days you can learn more from, right? Um, Anytime I get a red trade, even though it's not significant, I did something wrong. I want to review it, right? What could I have done better? Well, I understood that there was less confirmation. I knew today is a Friday, likely to be a lot slower than prior days, and I could see that already. The bottom Bollinger Band also being below. Uh, I know that we have limited downside. I don't see much volatility coming in. There was more confirmations I could have waited for. I even could have taken the trade differently, right? Even though I saw the right confirmation to take the trade, I could have waited or I could have scaled it differently and had managed it a little better. Um, right? I could have left this stop above the magenta. I could have done so many things that could have prevented the to hold one at least, but that's okay, right? I don't plan to do things like that all the time on Fridays, especially if I don't see that precision activating. It's better for me to get out as soon as I can. Um, so, yeah, if you were able to hold the trade and manage it, well done. If not, and you were also stopped out, that is okay. You are managing your risk very well, keeping very tight stops. Understanding there's a lack of precision before it happens is always very important. If you enter a trade and you're caught off guard because it lacks precision and you lose more, there's a way to get better at that, right? You can understand how a precision or when it lacks precision, when a move lacks precision, right? I know that if this candle doesn't break down continuously and the next candle engulfs it and pushes above the teal, I know it's no longer selling in blue here, right? It's not too complicated, but that's where you know where you can play stops at then, right? It's as simple as that. If the candles aren't moving in a pattern of lower highs and lower lows, it's not in a precision. Okay. No questions today. That's completely fine. I am going to call it quits here. I'll see if there's something else better later on today. Just set your alerts at magenta. You'll be completely fine. I promise you. You'll be completely fine if you set your alerts at magenta and at the upper teal, right? Because as of right now, there could be a wedge that starts to form up, right? Draw that a little bit better. Okay, with that being said, everybody take care. Expect some videos to come out this weekend. I'm going to be making a intro video to the server just for newer members. And then I have another video planned. So we can talk more about algos. Yeah, I think you guys will like it a lot. So, okay. With that being said, I'm going to get on out of here. Everybody take care. Don't overtrade this. Set your alerts, teal and magenta, and you'll be okay. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend.